July 21st, more. We hiked through the thick sand the opposite direction of Santa Cruz to lay low for the day, stopped about a mile past where the Mexican cop had asked our names. We ducked into this perfect little crevice between a few big boulders and the face of a rugged-looking dirt cliff that shot up over the sand about 2 times higher than my apartment building back in Stockton. If any cops were going to find us now, they'd pretty much have to scour every section of the beach, and even then they might miss our hiding spot. Plus, me and Mom agreed we probably weren't even that important to them in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, they most likely linked us to the tied-up store worker, got our descriptions, and maybe they even knew we were from the lighthouse, but it's not like we'd hurt anybody, really. And all we took from the store was food. We didn't go into the cash register and steal all the old dude's money. Just to be safe, though, we decided to wait until dark to continue down the beach toward Mexico. Mom guessed it would take at least 6 or 7 hours to walk all the way to Santa Cruz in the dark, but we'd learned our lesson about hitching. It wasn't worth the risk. And anyways, who would be crazy enough to pick up 3 group-home-looking kids in the middle of the night? Shit, I wouldn't. The storm. We were in a tight space together for a pretty long-ass time, but we didn't talk too much. Rondell mostly slept. Mong just stared out at the ocean without blinking, like he was meditating, sometimes fingering the brown tooth around his neck. I read some of my book and then wrote in my journal, and then went back to reading again. Occasionally, I'd look up at them, though, and think about what I found in their files last night, but it didn't make me feel closer to them like you might think. Actually, it was the exact opposite. It made me feel farther away. I didn't see them as random kids anymore. They were real, and I think it's harder to be close to people when you know they're real. Like if it's just some dude you're sharing a juvie cell with, you start to know how they act and what they say and how long they'll sleep for. You know they did something bad to get put away, same as you, and that they for damn sure don't want to be there. But when you find out about all the stuff they've been through in their childhood and their health problems and what crimes they committed, it becomes totally different. They turn into real people, and it makes it way harder to talk to them, because now if you just talk about ordinary stuff like the weather or what day it is, you know you're both being mad fake, which I hate. Anyways, that's what I found myself thinking about at one point between reading my book. I don't even know why. Speaking of the weather, as we sat there tucked away all afternoon, I watched the thick rain clouds I'd seen earlier creep slowly toward the shore at us. They looked like giant puffs of dark gray smoke, like there was a huge fire in the middle of the ocean. But the ocean wasn't red and orange with flames. It was gray and hazy and choppy, and the clouds made the sky grow dark even though it was still day. Then the wind picked up and a little rain started coming down. At first it was just sprinkling, and the rocks and cliff mostly protected us. But even being just a little wet made the wind feel freezing cold. All 3 of us hugged our own knees and chattered our teeth a little. Rondell was awake now. Mong stopped holding out his hands to let the drops fall in his palm. I put away my book and journal so they wouldn't get wet, and just sat there on my bag, holding my legs tight, watching everything. The ocean surface had thousands of tiny white waves breaking in every direction now. A few brave seagulls were still waiting around in the sand or flying over the shallow part of the bumpy water, looking for fish. I wondered how it was even possible that a bird could still fly when it was raining. I'd never seen it before, but there were 2 of them, still struggling through the air, scavenging for food or whatever. Even they disappeared, though, when the black clouds made it directly over us, and the sky opened up and poured rain, and thundered so loud it made the 3 of us jump a little every time. We got soaked because the boulders couldn't protect us much from the heavier rain, which was loud as hell coming off the cliff. The wind whistling through the rocks. It sounded like we were underneath a huge waterfall or something. To take my mind off of how miserable I felt, I pretended that's exactly what it was. Me and Mong and Rondell were on some tropical island like Hawaii, and there was a waterfall above us. We were taking a break from hiking through the forest, totally in nature. It was before people even had houses. Everybody just lived in grass huts on the beach and had to fish every morning to get their food. And me and Mong and Rondell were hiding out and watching the ocean to make sure nobody came floating up in a raft to try to invade our island. It was a stupid-ass thing to think about, I know, but when you're soaked and freezing cold and the wind is whipping in your face, you'll pretty much think up anything to take your mind off of it. Then suddenly the rain went soft again, and the wind died down, and eventually it cleared up above us, and the sun even came through the clouds, making this giant, real, live rainbow appear over the ocean. It was the first one I'd ever seen that wasn't in a book or magazine or on TV. It was amazing. It warmed back up a little, and Rondell fell back asleep, and so did me and Mong for a while, even though we were still wet and uncomfortable. And when I woke up, the sky above the ocean was completely clear, and the sun was blood red and falling behind the surface of the water. I watched the sky go light pink, and then red and orange, and then dark blue and purple, and when the sun disappeared completely from our view, the colors faded too, and it became nighttime. Rondell opened his eyes and stretched. Mong said we could start walking south again. The three of us picked up our bags, slid out from our spot, and moved around our stiff arms and legs. Then we started walking toward Santa Cruz again, this time along the beach with our clothes that were still wet.